Welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia. I'm an Auckland wedding photographer at Lydia Rachel Photography and your host. Today's episode is such a good one. I'm chatting to the lovely Wilhelmina O'Keefe about her stunning Queenstown wedding at Ayrburn, and honestly, this story has everything. From manifesting her dream man to an epic Cape Town proposal, to a seriously unforgettable wedding day at Ayrburn, including a trip up to Cecil Peak in a chopper. It really does feel like something out of a movie. Wills shares how they chose their venue, what mattered most to them when planning, the fashion, the music, the helicopter photos, the after party, and all the little things that made their day feel so special and so them. She also shares some really great advice around budgets, guest lists, choosing vendors, and staying focused on what the day is actually all about. I know you're going to get so much out of this one, so let's get right into it. Enjoy episode 136 with Wilhelmina. Hi, Wills. Thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today. So excited to chat all about your wedding.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Very exciting. It's nice to get the chance to relive it all. So I'm excited to be here.
Oh, so good. So to get started with, if you could just tell us a bit about yourselves, how you guys met, and your life together.
So my now husband, which I'm still getting used to saying, his name is Ben O'Keefe, and now I'm Wilhelmina O'Keefe, which I'm also getting used to saying. So I am a journalist, a broadcaster, a storyteller by trade. I worked in newsrooms for 15, nearly 16 years, and then went out on my own and started my own media company. So it's kind of freelance broadcasting, a bit of media training, a bit of PR. It's kind of storytelling all under this one neat little umbrella. Ben, he is an international rugby referee. Any rugby fans listening or watching might recognise his name. He is the man in the middle of the field telling all the players what to do and awarding tries and basically managing the whole game, but he's also a doctor as well. So he splits his time between doing musculoskeletal medicine, which he's retraining into, and then now is doing 50% of the time doing rugby. So we're both just hectic, busy, crazy individuals. We're full of energy. Our schedules are packed from start to finish, but we wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh, so nice. And did you guys meet through work? What did that kind of look like?
So I was newly single, and I told the story at our wedding, and I think I like to say that I manifested my ideal man. And I know you've actually interviewed her before, but Trish Peng, she's a good friend of mine. And I remember her telling me a few years ago about how she manifested her now husband, Tim, and she wrote this list of all the characters she wanted to find in a man. And then eventually she met him. And he ticked every single one. And so I remember sitting on my couch on a Friday night by myself thinking, you know what, I'm going to manifest my ideal man. So I wrote down this list, and it was ridiculous. It was 35 points long. But I thought, sister, you got to aim high. And I remember calling my mum and telling her I've manifested my ideal man. And she's like, oh, that's great. What's on the list? And I said, well, it's pretty long, mum. And she was like, you know what? You can't compromise. So good on you. And that was kind of the start of it. I guess I kind of put it out to the universe, which I know sounds a bit woo-woo, but I was kind of just in that era at the time. And Ben's brother, I actually used to work with when I was at News Hub, when I was news reading and reporting. And I knew that his brother Michael had a brother. I knew of Ben. And I remember going out for a drink one night with one of my old producers, which was my last full-time broadcasting role at Today FM. And he was a sports producer. And he was like, Wells, how's single life treating you? And I was like, well, it's all right. And he said, is there anyone that you're interested in? And I was like, well, you're a sports guy. What's Ben O'Keefe's deal? And I remember him turning to me and he was like, sister, get in there. He's hot. He was like, you should message him. And I just thought, look, Brad, no, that's a bit too bold, but maybe I'll give him a bit of a follow on Instagram. So I went home that night and I followed him on Instagram, and he had a bit of a following, and I just thought, he's not going to notice me. So, if we're meant to meet, we're meant to meet. If we don't, we don't. And again, leaving it up to the universe. This is after I put all my manifesting power into that list. And then he followed me back immediately. And I thought, wow. And then he followed my business page. And then I thought, okay, here we go. And then about a week later, he messaged me on Instagram asking me out for a drink. And he was in Cape Town at the time, refereeing a rugby game. And I think he'd had a few red wines at that point because his message was sort of sensical slash nonsensical, but, it made for some really great banter. And I remember him telling me after the fact that he was super embarrassed and thought that I would never message him back. But actually, it was a great kind of test in terms of the banter that we had and the kind of fun kind of relationship. And we went on this first date. We met at Bar Albert in Auckland, and we met at 7 o'clock, and we shut the place down. We were there till midnight, after midnight, and it was like the rest is history. We were living in different centres at the time. He ended up flying up for a second date. He flew up from Wellington, and that date became 4 days together. And then we worked out that he was going to Scotland to referee a rugby match. And then I was going to India to work in a newsroom for a month. And then he was going to be in Paris for the Rugby World Cup. And we weren't going to see each other for 97 days or something ridiculous like that. And so he flew to India to see me. And so technically our third date was a visit to the Taj Mahal at sunrise, which was pretty special. And then we booked flights for me to Paris, and I went to Paris for the Rugby World Cup, and then we came back, and then we moved in together. And it's just that whole when you know story. It felt like very much like this crazy whirlwind fairy tale, but it was very, very special.
Oh, so special. Yeah, it sounds like a movie. Honestly, your dates and just everything fit together. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you moved in together for a while and got engaged. Can you tell us a bit about your proposal story?
Yeah, so we had been moved in together for probably nearly a year. Yeah, just over a year. And Ben goes away for kind of 4 to 5 windows a year overseas for international chess matches. And working for myself, I have the flexibility where I'm able to follow him and I can work remotely, which is really nice because half of what I do, I don't need to be here for. And he had told me about how Cape Town in South Africa was one of his favorite places in the world. It was really special to him. And it turned out that he had a match in Japan and then South Africa. And I thought, this is perfect. I'll come along. They're two destinations that I've never been to. And we were in Cape Town, and we were also going on safari, which I was really, really excited for. And I kind of had this inkling. I was like, we've talked about getting married. We've talked about, it asked me what kind of ring I wanted before. And I kind of just had this inkling that it's such a special place, so maybe it will happen there. And for me, I was thinking, oh, it might happen on safari. But we actually hired this classic AC Cobra. It was kind of like a James Bond style car, convertible, like super cool. And we drove it around the coast down to the Cape of Good Hope, right at the most southernmost tip of South Africa. And we were driving past this beautiful lookout called Chapman's Peak. And we pulled the car over to the side of the road, and Ben was like, let's get some photos. So we set up my phone on the tripod and set up the self-timer. And I remember it was freezing, like it was so windy and it was so cold, but we were trying to get this really nice photo. And there's a video, Ben actually put it on video mode, which you've got the video of, and I'm freezing. I'm literally like, oh my God, baby, hurry up. It's so cold. It's so cold. And he runs around and holds my hand and spins me around. And I'm going, what's going on? And he dropped a knee and asked me to marry him, which was really special. And so it was so wonderful to actually have that time then on safari. It was kind of like an engagement moon, if you like, where we had this incredible experience and it was just us. And yeah, it was truly wonderful. And I later found out that he actually had the ring since, that was in September, and he had the ring since February that year.
Oh, so special. Yeah, that sounds incredible. What a special place, and got the surprise factor there a little bit too.
Yeah, threw me off with the Cape Town proposal, but it was really wonderful.
Yeah, so good. Were you always one of those girls that dreamed about your wedding? Did you kind of have a vision in mind what you wanted? What were those first steps starting to plan?
The kind of twist in the story is I've actually been married once before. So this was my second wedding, and the huge difference with this is that this time I was marrying my soulmate. So a few people had kind of asked, what was it like in comparison to the first time? And, the first time was a wonderful day, but the second time just meant something even greater because it was, with my person, with my absolute. match in life. I think every little girl always kind of dreams of the big wedding. And even though I'd already done it once, I think, I would kind of sit there and I would visualize it. I'd visualize the day. And for Ben, it was really special because it was his first wedding as well. And I remember saying to him at one point, because I also remember how expensive weddings are, having paid for one already. And I remember saying to Ben, like, what if we just eloped? And he was like, babe, I kind of get it, but I've also not been married before. And I was like, no, actually, you need to have your princess moment too. And that's the thing is I think, for guys, it's actually a really big deal too. We always talk about it being about the bride's dreams, being what she envisions for the day. But, Ben's a true romantic at heart. And so I know that it meant so much to him. And I know that it's the same for a lot of guys as well.
So special. That's, yeah, cool. You decided to go ahead with the big wedding. And did you guys look at a few different venues? Did you kind of know location, what you were going to do?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to do something away from Auckland. I wanted to do something in a location that was completely different to what I did the first time. And we toyed with the idea of Blenheim because Ben's family's from Blenheim. There's all these beautiful wineries there, but we actually thought it would be really cool to make it a bit of a destination for everybody. Queenstown needs no explanation. It's completely breathtaking, spectacular. I've spent so much time there. And we looked at a few venues down in Queenstown. We looked at Peregrine Wines, which I actually emceed something for Breast Cancer Cure. Probably around the time that we were venue hunting. So it was nice to kind of see the event space in action. But the difficulty there was it was a blank canvas and you needed to bring everything in. And for us being such busy people, it just seemed like such an overwhelming amount of admin. We kind of needed something there with the infrastructure. We looked at the wine house as well, which was really cute and had a lot of character, but it was just a little bit tired for us. So we wanted something really new. And at that point, Ayrburn had just opened. It kind of wasn't really in the running for us because we didn't really know much about it. And we walked in and our jaws dropped to the floor. We were like, oh my God, this place is amazing. And the real selling point for us was having the barrel room, which was a third venue to use as an after party. Because normally I feel like with most weddings, you have your reception space, you have your dinner there, you have your speeches there, and then it turns into the dance floor. Whereas for us, it was like we have our dinner and our speeches in the bakehouse as our reception spot. Then we get everyone up, we move them out to a new venue, complete change of scenery, an injection of energy, cocktails on arrival, dance floor all set up. And we had the venue till 4 a.m., which was a massive selling point because no venues are open past midnight. Well, most venues aren't.
So many of them have cut-offs, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a real selling point for us. So we kind of knew straight away. And as the universe would have it, I actually ended up doing quite a bit of work with the Ayrburn team, whether it was PR and those types of things. So it was actually a really kind of nice personal connection as well.
Beautiful, such a special spot there. Yeah, I've visited the last few times I've been down and yeah, it's incredible. It's hard to beat. So cool to have sort of like, yeah, multiple spaces on the same spot as well. And yeah, you mentioned a few things in there already, but what were the most important elements for you, your sort of top priorities for the day when you're planning?
I'd learned a lot from my experience in planning, and I kind of learned to sort of let go of the little details. I don't know, I think the thing for me was not worrying about little gimmicky kind of things, which I know some people are into, but I just think it just took up so much time and it was money that could be spent elsewhere. Things like stationery was less important to us. We did e-invites, which is obviously far more sustainable. Our menus were kind of printed as part of the Ayrburn package. We had the option to bring in our own, but I just thought, everyone's just so taken aback by the decor. I think that it's those less little details that I feel personally are not as big a deal. So we definitely stripped that back, but we put all of our energy into something else. I think what was most important was definitely the music, the DJ. Oh my goodness, Sweet Mix Kids. Sandon's a good friend of mine, and again, it was through that breast cancer cure event that I was emceeing, because he often DJs for breast cancer cure. And I remember seeing him, it was just after Ben and I got engaged. He's like, Wells, we're doing your wedding. We need to talk. And Ben is more of a live band type guy, but he saw them DJ that night at the breast cancer cure event and was like, wow, we absolutely have to get them. So definitely dance, vibe, lots of energy. I thought what was really important as well was really making the reception space our own, because every venue, right, has so many weddings that come through, and I really wanted to do something with the bakehouse. It was such a beautiful blank canvas, but we really wanted to elevate it, and they actually made a sort of a special concession for us, allowing us to do some of the aerial draping through the room, which I think really brought the venue alive. They've got some kind of like beautiful greenery hanging from the ceilings. Candles, to me, I thought was so important. I know it sounds so small and silly, but the candles just added this complete air of romance. And I remember Ben going, why are we spending so much money on candles? I was like, baby, trust me. And I remember we were sitting at the head table and he turned to me and he was like, candles? Definitely worth it. Yeah. He's like, good call on the candles, babe. Good call on the candles. So yeah, I definitely think decor, and for us as well, being able to really make the most of the scenery. I mean, we're down in Queenstown for a reason. So being able to get into a chopper, we flew up to Cecil Peak afterwards, and that not only gave us these spectacular photos, it also gave us this incredible amount of time, just us immediately after the ceremony, which I don't think most people get. I mean, you go away for photos, but people are sort of coming in and out. We were up on a mountaintop looking out into the most beautiful scenery. The weather, you couldn't have asked for more. We were so grateful. And I just remember us kind of looking at each other and being like, wow, this is our day. So that was really important. And we just wanted everyone to have fun. Like, I know the day is about us, but also the one thing about us is we really want our people to be happy too. And we just wanted to have a banging party. Like, we just wanted to have the best time.
So good. I love that. So many good things in there. And yeah, how was the journey with your wedding outfits, finding your dress? Did you get it made? Yeah, can you talk us through that a little bit?
So again, with Trish being a good friend of mine, so her and her husband came to the wedding. So it was a no-brainer to go and have my dress with her. I did have some ideas about designing it myself. I had as a sort of concept in mind. And so I went along and tried on a few of her designs, and one of them was actually quite similar. One of her new season dresses was quite similar to what I was thinking. But as we know, we have an idea in our head, and 99% of the time you put it on and actually it's not the one. And it just wasn't quite the one. So I tried on a couple of others, one from her newer collection, and I was just like, wow, this is it. And so we added a few little bespoke details to it. For me, I really wanted the veil to be a really big kind of standout moment. And that was one of the main comments that I got on the day was, oh my God, your veil. It was just so long and like trimmed with this beautiful lace that framed my face. And instead of tucking it into my hair, it was on top of my head. So it was that kind of really vintage Dolce kind of vibe that I really wanted to channel, kind of really classic and really, really timeless. And Trish just absolutely nailed my vision. I was just blown away, over the moon. Yeah, it was super, super special. And then obviously being a good friend of hers, I was able to, I'm actually her fit model as well. So I came along to try on some of her newer collection and to be her fit model. And the second dress, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This would have actually been a really serious contender for the first dress. And she was like, well, your sample size, why don't you borrow it and wear it as your second dress? And then it made sense to do a mini as well. And also because we had 3 locations, right? So we had our ceremony outside in the Dell area, which is this beautiful grass area outside the bakehouse, our reception in the bakehouse, and then after party in the barrel room, which, let's be honest, you need to be able to get low. So it was only going to work with a beautiful sparkly mini.
Yeah, beautiful. A great friend to have for sure. So good.
Phenomenal friend.
Super talented, and yeah, you looked absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, did the guys have suits from Tim as well?
Ben actually had an outfit change as well, because He loves dressing up. And so, yeah, no brainer to go to Tim. He had this beautiful kind of classic tuxedo. I finally learned what a cummerbund was, the thing that goes around I had no idea. I don't even think he knew what a cummerbund was. So I was today years old when I learned what a cummerbund was. And for his second outfit, because we both got changed at the same time, we did this kind of beautiful, kind of dramatic entrance, which was everyone was already in the barrel room, and then our first dance music started playing, and we just walked our way through the crowd and immediately started our first dance, which then actually remixed into Fireball, because then we had 120 Fireball shots come out for everyone to enjoy. But his outfit, he changed into a white jacket and these really cool patterned pants. So I called them his party pants, which was pretty awesome. But it was great for him to kind of have that real design experience as well. And he also had a vision, and he'd been looking around online, and yeah, Tim nailed it.
Oh, so good. Yeah, I'd love that. I think the guys get forgotten about sometimes, but they want to have their moment too.
He had his moment in the sun. He was happy.
Yeah, so good. And you guys had a bridal party as well. And yeah, how did you go with choosing them? Was that kind of easy for you?
Yeah, it definitely was. So I had 4 bridesmaids and he had 4 groomsmen. And actually, 3 of my bridesmaids, they were actually my bridesmaids for my first wedding, which I actually think is a really special thing, that you've had these beautiful friendships that stand the test of time. And, there were a couple in there who I've known for nearly 20 years, one of them who I went to school with. And so I thought that was really, really special. And the fourth one was Ben's sister. And so we're kind of forging this beautiful relationship and this kind of sisterhood, which is really nice because she grew up with 2 brothers. So I'm kind of the sister that she never had. So that was, yeah, it was a complete no-brainer to me. For Ben, kind of the same, like, people who've been in his life for a long time, made complete sense. So yeah, it was a very easy decision for us. We probably had quite a bit of a monster bridal party with 10 of us all together, but it would have been too hard to narrow it down otherwise. But they all looked amazing. I mean, our dress code for the wedding was black tie. So I'd always had this idea of having all the bridesmaids in black gowns. And I just think they just looked amazing. And so all the guests, it was black tie, but for the women, no black or white. So then the bridesmaids wouldn't get lost.
So special. Love that. Yeah, it looked beautiful all together as well. And how did you go with your guest list? Did you find that quite tricky to narrow down?
Oh my God, the spreadsheets, the late nights that we spent going through, and then you have your first kind of list, and then you have the people that you invite that when there are people who can't come. And it was really, really hard. And then it's kind of, you have overseas people to consider as well. And then, often they don't end up coming, but you don't want to assume that they're not going to come. So it was really, really difficult. I don't have that big a family, so that was kind of made things a lot easier. Ben's family is definitely bigger than mine. Not huge, but there were kind of 10 to 12 sort of family members there. But yeah, it was hard. And I think because we both have so many people in our lives, and because we were, we've only been together for 2.5 years. So, some relationships where they've sort of been together for a long time, there's kind of one group of friends, whereas we were sort of dealing with 2 groups of friends, even though we'd become friends with each other's friends. So there was a lot of stern debate and, trying to justify some of the decisions that we made, but we got there in the end, and I think we settled on 128 people, which was the maximum that Ayrburn could fit. And we had a couple of last minute pullouts, unfortunately, just due to unforeseen circumstances. So we had 126 in total.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good number to land on. That's always a hard part for sure. Yeah, can you kind of run us through maybe that week leading up and then the day itself, how it all went? Any highlights or favorite moments?
It was actually really good. Like, it wasn't too stressful. And I think, I kind of work in the kind of planning media sort of PR space at the moment. And so I'm pretty organized. And so it was just a case of checking in with vendors. And to be honest, both Ben and I were so busy at the end of last year because we had the wedding right before Christmas. And it's kind of that crunch time for everybody at the end of the year when they're trying to get everything done for the end of your deadline. And so it kind of wasn't really until about 2 weeks before the wedding that I was like, oh my God, yeah, we get married in a couple of weeks. And I was really kind of thinking about it. But we confirmed everything with the vendors. I am such a type A. You know, I produced this meticulously planned run sheet that I gave to all of our vendors in Ayrburn, and they were like, oh my goodness, we wish every couple was like this. So it was just kind of great to set the expectations. And I feel like open communication, you set the standard, they understand what your standard is, so then no one can get disappointed. So I think that's really, really important when it comes to planning. The week of was really lovely. We flew down on the Wednesday beforehand. And so we checked into Millbrook, and we actually had just a couple of days. I mean, Ben was golfing for kind of 2 days, 2.5 days. And for me, to be honest, I actually had a little bit of work that I had to kind of finish off. You know what it's like being a sole trader and a sole business owner. It kind of never stops. It's not like when you take annual leave in a full-time job where you've got a clear out point. So I was sort of finishing a few things off. I got a massage. I went and got my spray tan, and, Ben and I went out for dinner. And then on the Friday, we had a pre-wedding gathering on the Friday night, which was really nice in Arrowtown. So it was a really great opportunity for everyone to kind of meet initially, which was really cool, kind of a bit of an icebreaker. The day of the wedding was so chill. It was so nice. Ben and I actually spent the night together the night before the wedding as well. I know there's kind of this traditional view that you spend the night separately, but I don't know. We didn't want to be separate. And it actually meant that I was way calmer and we could just enjoy that time together. And we both got up in the morning, and I sent him off as the last time I'd see him before being my husband, and he said the same. And the morning was just lovely. The girls turned up, and we had bagels and a platter, and makeup and hair showed up. One of my really good friends was doing my hair, or doing all of our hair. And even my makeup artist was like, this is so relaxed, and we were done. We were ready to go by like 1:00, 1:30 in terms of hair and makeup. And then it was just about getting into the dress and getting the pre-photos. And it was so funny. I was ready to, the ceremony was at 4, and it's only a 5-minute drive between Millbrook and Ayrburn. And 3:30, we'd done the pre-photos. I was ready to go. And so I positioned myself on this little ottoman because I didn't want to sit on my dress. So I was kind of had my dress around the ottoman, and I'm sitting on it. And there's this photo that my bridesmaid took of me, and I'm kind of looking out the window longingly, just like, I want to get there. I'm so excited. Let me there. I just want to see him. So yeah, it was so relaxed. Ben took the boys bungee jumping on the morning of the AJ Hackett bungee jump. So there's some great footage from that. Definitely not how I wanted to start my morning, though.
A little bit of a contrast. So nice. And yeah, how did it kind of go from there? You went to the ceremony.
Yeah, I went to the ceremony. Yeah, I kind of held it together, kind of. The girls went down. As soon as our ceremony song came on, I got all the feels right in the heart. And I remember the moment the bridesmaids were going out kind of one by one, and I was tucked behind this sort of stone fireplace, sitting outside before I walked down the aisle, and just hearing the chord change in the song. So we had Sleep on the Floor by the Lumineers, which was a song that Ben shared with me for the first time when we first got together. And I just remember going, my little face kind of crinkled up, and I was like, oh my God. And then I walked out across the stone terrace, and it's at the top of these couple of stairs. And it's a long walk across that grassy area at Ayrburn. And I actually made the decision to walk down the aisle by myself. So it was a kind of a solo, kind of independent moment for me. And I think as soon as I got to the top of those steps, and I remember one of the Ayrburn staff kind of fluffed up my train, and I could see Ben. And yeah, it was as if I couldn't see anyone else. In my periphery, I could see the mass of people around, but I didn't make any faces out. I had no idea who was who. All I could see and all I looked at the entire time was him, and he was the same with me. I remember everyone saying to us afterwards, they were like, wow, you guys were absolutely locked in, which was really special. And then getting down to that aisle and managed to get through most of my vows. I kind of cried a little bit. And it was funny because my eyes are welling up, and you don't want to rub your eyes. So I'm trying to blink really hard. And then all of a sudden I couldn't kind of see the text because the tears were kind of distorting the text a little bit. But the ceremony was perfect. It was this perfect kind of mix of, deep emotion and some kind of naturally funny moments that weren't forced. Ben's auntie actually married us. She got certified for us specifically. There was just a really funny moment, when the celebrants going, "Do you, Wilhelmina, Shrimpton type, and she and she actually said a line that was so long, and I'm so overwhelmed. And I can remember information at the best of times. It's my job. I'm a journalist, but she's just kept going, and I was like, "Oh my god, girlfriend!" And then I remember I started repeating it back. I was like, "I, Wilhelmina Kate Shrimpton Den Heart Attack, Benjamin Dennis O'Keefe to be my what?" And then she was like, "Blah blah blah blah," and everyone cracked up. But everyone was. I just thought, man, Auntie Mary did me dirty on that one.
Oh, so good. Love that. Lots of sweet moments in there. And then you went off in the helicopter.
Off in the chopper, yeah, we had some photos with our bridal party and family. Then we went up to Cecil Peak, which was, like you said, incredible having that one-on-one time, just us. And those photos are truly spectacular. So we took a bottle of champagne at the top there and, fired it off and flew back. And, it was just amazing. All these epic things that you'd normally do in isolation that would be amazing enough is all kind of crammed into one day. We got back probably just before 7 and was actually really nice. And I would recommend this to any bride and groom, is you spend so much time planning your reception area and planning all of the styling to go away for photos, and you never actually get to see it. So we'd factored in time for Ben and I to go in and actually view that reception space and have some photos in there before anyone walked in and anyone messed up all the table arrangements. And that was such a special moment. I remember crying again, going, "Oh my God, my vision came to life." It was pretty special being able to really drink that all in, and then to see it full with people, and then to see it in the nighttime. And then, then I had a dress change for dinner. We had our grand entrance and all the napkins swinging, and Ben and I love getting up and dancing on tables, so we jumped up and were swinging our napkins at the bridal party table. And we obviously had speeches, and the food was amazing. And then at about 10:30, 11, we moved down to the barrel room, which was where the after party began. So it was pretty cool. And I remember we did our first dance, and probably that was done by about 11:30. And we just looked at each other and we were like, we still have 4.5 more hours. Thank God this place doesn't close at midnight.
So good. Partied into the night. Love it.
We did.
Yeah, amazing. Sounds like such an incredible day. And yeah, your photos look amazing as well. Did you find anything hard about the whole wedding planning process, or is there anything that you look back on and regret or would have done a little bit differently?
No, not for this one. I think I learnt lessons from my first wedding about what not to spend money on, about what not to worry about I went into it knowing the process when dealing with vendors, knowing the process when teeing up run sheets and everything. There's actually nothing that I would change, which is really nice to say. Really, really, really nice to say. It was honestly the perfect day. And even down to the weather, which you can't control. And I was stalking the rain radars like a woman possessed, let me tell you this, because the weather was not good in the weeks leading up to our wedding down in Queenstown. And we also picked Queenstown because it's stable and mild and certain. And it was not. And meanwhile, in Auckland, it was lovely for like 2 weeks in a row. And I'm going, this is why we picked Queenstown. What are we going to do? But we had perfect weather. So it was good. And I have to admit, we didn't have a rain plan. I like to think that I was manifesting no other option, but we were very lucky. And it's funny now because every weekend, because I'm still kind of in the wedding mindset, every weekend it's whether it's nice weather or bad weather, I'll see a really nice day and I'm like, oh, I feel so happy for all the couples who are getting married today. Or if it's raining, I'm like, oh, I'm so gutted for the couples who are getting married today. I had an old colleague of mine who just got married last Friday, and that was, severe weather warnings, which was tough. But I know that you still have an amazing day regardless.
Definitely something you can't plan for in New Zealand, no matter what the season is, unfortunately. But yeah, so nice. You got a good day, and I know the chopper can get cancelled down there if it's like too windy or anything. So yeah, so good. All the stars aligned for you.
Yeah, and the perfect amount of wind, just enough to let the veil go up, but not enough that we got blown off Cecil Beak, which was a good thing.
Did you guys have a set wedding budget, if you're happy to talk about what that was, or just how you found that whole side of things? Was there, I don't know how long ago your first wedding was, but I guess times would have changed with budgets and stuff a little bit and the cost of everything. So yeah, how did you find that?
So my first wedding was, I think, about 7 or 8 years ago, and that came out to about 70K. We we spent more this time, but we stuck within the budget that we'd planned for, which was good. And look, we know that it's a huge amount of money to spend on one day. It really is. But we look back now and we're just like, honestly, the memories that we made were priceless. And at the time, you're kind of looking at the budget spreadsheet and kind of staring down the barrel of what we're about to pay. It is really overwhelming, but we wouldn't have changed it for the world. And I think, our whole thing was that, in 10, 15, 20 years' time, when we look back at how wonderful that day was, are we going to go, oh man, we really regret spending an extra 5K or 10K or, those types of things? And the answer was a resounding no, we're not going to care about it. And I think we kind of saw this meme. It was like the girl mathing your wedding. It's like thinking about, how you talk about cost per wear of buying an investment piece of clothing. Well, you think about cost per wear of the wedding, and we were like, well, we're going to be together until the day we die. So if we think about it that way, it's nothing per year.
Love that. That's a great way to go, math. Just break it down by length of your marriage. Yeah.
It's an investment in your marriage, which is the most important thing.
Exactly. Great mindset to have. Did you guys go on honeymoon straight away? Did you kind of just hang out in Queenstown for a while, or what did planning that look like?
We had a mini moon down in Queenstown. So we are good friends with the owners of Lake Hawea Station, which is kind of an hour and a half drive away from Queenstown. So we went and stayed there, and it was actually really nice because I remember we went and stayed there when we first kind of got together. So it was really nice. Like our friends Jussie and Jeff met Ben then, and then kind of having this full circle moment. So they were super stoked to have us. So we stayed in one of their little cottages there. And by that point, it had started raining, and we were stoked because it was like we were in this beautiful little cottage and we could just relax. And some of our wedding photos came through then from Johnny Scott, our photographer. And we were just able to sit there and look at them and just really drink it all in. And we were exhausted afterwards as well. Because it was so close to Christmas as well, we then flew straight from Queenstown to Blenheim, and we were with Ben's family for Christmas for 10 days. Then we were back in Auckland for New Year, and then we had booked in a honeymoon in Fiji. So we went to Yasawa Island in Fiji, which is one of the northernmost islands. Beautiful. There's one resort there, kind of 15 people sort of staying there at any one time. So it was just a really unplugged, beautiful experience. And I can't recommend getting married just for Christmas highly enough because, you talk about the post-wedding blues. And look, I'm not going to lie, I think I had a delayed onset of post-wedding blues because we had so many highlights afterwards. And then it's like I went back to work and I'm going, oh, okay, here's the come down from the wedding. But I can't recommend doing it before Christmas more enough because you have that time. You have Christmas, there's New Year, it's a really festive and celebratory season. And so it can really help to dull the effect of the post-wedding blues for sure.
So good. Yeah, just staying in that newlywed bubble and summer holidays, a little bit delayed honeymoon. Love that. Did you have any, I guess you kind of knew a lot of vendors in the industry as well and then learnt a lot from your previous wedding, but was there any other kind of helpful resources that helped you with finding vendors or inspiration, stuff like that for your wedding?
I definitely think, Instagram's such a great one because following following various photographers, following various videographers, you kind of fall down the rabbit hole. I mean, all of a sudden you'll like 2 or 3 wedding posts and then the algorithm will be pushing all the wedding content in front of you. And I think it's so important, especially when it comes to photography, videography, social content, is to find someone who matches your vibe, because every photographer and videographer has a different way of shooting. There's a different mood, and what might work for one person won't work for someone else. So I think that's really important. And I did spend a bit of time kind of hunting around and looking around, and it was actually, I sort of had 5 photographers in mind, and I was feeling like, oh God, we're going to have to organize meetings with all of them to see if we vibe. And actually Johnny was on our list, and then Johnny reached out to us, which was like how fortuitous, and there's the universe doing its thing again. So that was really cool, because just loved his style, love the way he operates, just such a slick, talented human. Flat Rock Films, who we got for our videography, the wonderful Zach, who is just such a vibe. I actually found him, he'd shot a few friends' weddings. So it was just a no-brainer, and because he's such a great, brilliant storyteller, and from one storyteller to another, it really makes a difference. But yeah, definitely shopping around, taking the time, getting quotes, having meetings, start a spreadsheet. Oh my goodness, start a spreadsheet of the people you want to go to, their contact details, what their quote is, and then decide on that. And starting early, 100%, especially on the big things, the venue, the photographer, the videographer, and the dress. You kind of need to start getting done 12 months out. And I know that's a message that Trish always likes to drum into everyone, is 12 months. We need time. Yeah, so definitely starting early, I think, and just getting inspiration from online. There's some great wedding publications. Together Journal's such a great local wedding publication. Vogue Weddings is another great one to follow. Some really wonderful New Zealand weddings and vendors get showcased on there. So I think that's a really great place. But honestly, every wedding is just so personal and individual. And I kind of feel like there's no rules, right? There's no rules. And I've seen some beautiful weddings literally probably in the past month where they've done something completely opposite to us. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Would I have done it differently? Look, maybe not, but wow, what an epic way to do it.
Love that. Some great advice in there. And yeah, you had some amazing vendors. I've worked with a lot of them as well. And yeah, just so good, especially Johnny and Zach, just like great energy on the day as well.
Oh, good. Same.
You've given a lot of amazing advice already. Is there anything else you would say to a couple planning their wedding at the moment?
Enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. There's so many logistics and things to think about, but actually just remembering why you're doing this in the first place. People kept asking me what it was that I was most excited for our wedding. And obviously I was excited for all of the pomp and the ceremony and the decor and all of that. But what I was actually most excited for was just to marry Ben. I was just super excited to hear his vows, and realistically, if we'd stripped it back, I would have been perfectly happy to elope somewhere. But, it's remembering why you're there. I think also making sure that you take time to be with each other on the day. There is a sense of responsibility of getting around every single guest, making sure that everyone feels okay and feels welcome. And look, we were able to really kind of temper that because we had a night before gathering. So we could kind of work that and get that done so that we could just enjoy our day on the wedding day. But not everyone has that luxury. And I think the day is about you as a couple. Spend every minute of it together. People will come to you. I remember, you see people kind of splitting up and then trying to both get through all the tables. And it's like, nah, actually. And I remember Ben saying this to me. He was like, nah, this is our day. He's like, people can come up to us. He's like, I'm going to sit at that head table like the king and people will come up and talk to us. And I was like, actually, you're right. Because I was the one going, oh, well, we've got to get around all the tables and all the things. And he was like, no, we don't. This is our day. And taking some time to step back, we were lucky we had that chopper moment. But not everyone has that. So maybe getting up during the reception and making use of those sunset hours. You have a little sunset photo shoot. When your photographer's done, hang out for a little bit. Talk about the ceremony and talk about the vows and your favorite moment. But yeah, it's about you as a couple. And although there is a level of responsibility hosting an event, it's not what it's about.
Yeah, beautiful. Such great advice. I think a few people have said it as well, but just trying to be not necessarily the host, but more the guest of honor on your day. And yeah, people can totally come to you. I love that.
Totally. You're paying vendors to take care of all those logistics. And you get a really good MC who oversees it all. And you can just step back and relax.
Absolutely. Did you guys have a wedding planner, or you kind of did all that?
Me.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm such a super organized type A control freak personality that it just made sense. You know, I'm like, easy, make a list, start at the top, finish at the bottom.
Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, amazing. And what is married life like now? You kind of mentioned about getting the delayed wedding blues, but yeah, how has it been? A few months in.
Yeah, it was actually our 2-month anniversary the day before Valentine's Day. Yeah, really good. Really good. There's kind of this, some people say it feels the same. I think for me, it feels different in the best kind of way. It just this kind of like level of contentment and happiness and relaxation. And I think what's really exciting is we loved the lead up to the wedding. It was amazing, but we felt like we were living in anticipation of something. And as much as I would love to do it all again, it was perfect and I wouldn't change anything. So I wouldn't want to do it again at risk of it not being the same. But now we just get to live life and just be in the moment, which I actually think is really cool. And that's what I'm really, really enjoying at the moment, is just being, rather than going, we're working towards this massive milestone at the end of the year and we're budgeting and we're doing all the things. And now we just get to enjoy each other's time and grow our businesses and yeah, live life, which is really cool.
Amazing. It's been so lovely to chat to you today. Is there anything else that we missed or you wanted to add as we wrap up?
No, I think we covered everything off. Thank you, though.
Cool. Thank you so much. I think people are going to get a lot out of this episode, and yeah, just super helpful to hear how you did it. And yeah, we'll share a few photos from your day as well. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.